You're watching KOCO 5. Breaking news is happening now.
Breaking right now, more police on the scene of what they are calling a murder-suicide. This is happening near Notting Hill Drive and Southwest 34th. More police tell me that a TAC team found the bodies of two men inside of that home. We have a crew headed to the scene right now. We'll bring you any late-breaking details we learned there from more. And
tonight, the latest update, 55 days since the first COVID-19 case in Oklahoma. Tonight, the state says there has been 3,473 confirmed cases. 214 people have died statewide, 3 of them within the last 24 hours. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Evan Onstein.
Good evening. At 10 o'clock, I'm Abigail Ogle. Tomorrow, really the last day before this new normal begins. Come Friday, many Oklahoma businesses will start to reopen.
And late breaking today, Oklahoma City announcing new rules to slow the spread.
KOCO's Portia Riley live tonight. Portia, these requirements vary depending on the type of business.
Yes, for example, movie theaters, if they decide to reopen, will have a different set of rules from places like personal care shops or the mall, including staggering seating and closing off every other row. While some places are in no rush to reopen this week,
we just felt like it was better to wait a little bit longer and to be cautious.
Others are eager. OKC announcing these new safety measures, like checking employee temperatures and requiring them to wear masks, offering customers masks and staggering tables at least 6 feet apart. The ban of more people still stands for social gatherings. For example, there can be more than 10 people at Penn Square Mall when it reopens, but the number of people who go together must be fewer than 10. As for city-owned places like parks and playgrounds, they will remain closed for now. The city says it'll reassess in a couple of weeks, taking a look at those COVID-19 numbers to see if we'll be moving to the next step of this multi-phase reopening plan. Back to you.
And this just in, Chesapeake Energy saying no comment tonight to KOCO after a report from Reuters saying the company is preparing a potential bankruptcy filing. The Oklahoma City energy giant employs thousands of Oklahomans, but has struggled in recent years. Earlier this month, Chesapeake investors okayed a plan to artificially raise its stock price, hoping to not get dropped from the New York Stock Exchange.
Turns out scammers taking advantage during COVID-19. Tonight, the Attorney General and the Better Business Bureau teaming up to help protect you. AG Mike Hunter and the BBB recorded a conference talking about how you and businesses can stay ahead of these criminals during the ongoing pandemic. We have links to these videos in the As Seen On section of your KOCO app.
Another jury duty date in Oklahoma County canceled because of coronavirus. So if you receive a summons for June 15th, you can ignore it. The court clerk says that this gives the county more time to come up with a plan on how to safely bring prospective jurors to the courthouse. The county is also adding additional jury dates later this year.
Whatever you want to call it, the pandemic, COVID-19, the coronavirus has thrown us all into a world that A, we never anticipated, and B, into a world that looks really different now financially.
School leaders across the United States, including right here in Oklahoma, sending a letter to Congress asking lawmakers for more money to cover costs stemming from this pandemic. OKCPS Superintendent Dr. Sean McDaniel, one of the leaders fighting for another round of stimulus money. KOCO's Paris Jones sat down with him, the leader of our state's largest school district, today.
The letter initially was just to say to decision makers at the federal level, we need more help. Close the funding gap that we see looming on the horizon.
Superintendent Dr. Sean McDaniel joining 61 other superintendents around the country asking Congress for an additional $175 billion in federal funding. He says decline in state and local revenue because of COVID-19 has him worried about the future.
What I think about is, what does this look like to Oklahoma City Public Schools from a cut standpoint? Are we going to get cut? Do we have to cut teachers? Do we have to not give raises? Do we have to cut programs?
He says even though the schools are empty, the district is still spending lots of money on unexpected costs like providing meal services and distance learning.
A significant percentage of our kids who do not have access to the internet. And so for those students, we've had to provide hard copy packets every week. It is tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars associated with creating those packets every week.
Dr. McDaniel says for now, they'll be looking to the State Department of Education for guidance on funding from the federal level. Paris Jones, KOCO 5 News.
And now let's talk about voting during the pandemic. New controversy tonight over Oklahoma's rules on mail-in ballots. The state Supreme Court now considering a request to get rid of the notary requirement for the election in June. Supporters argue having voters go to a notary before mailing in their ballot is counterproductive, but the state election secretary says that ballot printing process is already underway and a last-minute change could cause confusion. Oklahoma, one of just 3 states that requires a notary or official to witness your signature. Others use things like signature verification.
It's been nearly 8 weeks since the first coronavirus case was confirmed here in Oklahoma. Of course, still a lot of questions and uncertainty as the state prepares to reopen. We asked OU Med when those who were sick can resume normal life.
It depends on the patient. Much of that depends on what their normal life was like before they became infected and what sort of different things do they have to do to get well.
Dr. Drevitz says anyone who was infected should take precautions like wearing a mask or at least 2 weeks after their symptoms have ended. He says chances of infecting someone after you recovered are low, but they're not zero.
And the number of businesses deciding to reopen Friday is growing, and that includes entertainment venues like bowling alleys. So KOCO set out to see just how they're going to be trying to keep you safe during this. Patrina Adger with some new details for you tonight.
I spoke to several bowling alley owners who are ready to reopen on Friday, and they're doing so under strict guidelines and procedures. The owner of Holiday Lanes off Southeast 44th didn't want to go on camera, but tells me they've shortened their hours of operation and will open from 3 p.m. until 9 on Friday. He says they will be taking employees' temperatures every day, and those with a fever will be sent home. They're also opening half of their bowling lanes and requiring an empty lane between each. They're also limiting groups to just 6 people, and employees coming face to face with customers will be required to wear masks. They'll also sanitize hard surfaces throughout the day and sanitize bowling balls and shoes. Patrina Adger, KOCO 5 News.
And the Edmond Farmers Market also planning to reopen this Saturday. And according to their Facebook post, they say that shoppers will see some changes. The biggest adjustment, they are asking you to pre-order if at all possible. While some places start to reopen, others will continue to be closed. The Oklahoma Historical Society says all of their museums and historic sites will be closed through June 1st. OHS says all of their sponsored events will be canceled or postponed through at least July 31st as well.
Help for those helping others. Many local nonprofits are really struggling financially during this COVID crisis, but their work is as important as ever. KOCO's Jessica Shambach joining us live from her home tonight. And Jess, that is why we are teaming up for a week of caring.
Evan, it is a week-long campaign to help local nonprofits that have really been hit hard right now. KOCO joining forces with United Way of Central Oklahoma. If you're able to donate, text KOCO United to 51555. United Way giving 100% of that money to local charities that are doing very important work in our communities right now.
We've already assisted over 25,000 Oklahomans with the funds that we have been able to raise. I'm a strong believer. Oklahomans always come through when we need help. And I have to tell you, this time we really need that support. There's a lot of people in our community in Oklahoma that are literally 2 paychecks away from homelessness. And then you add on COVID-19, the high rate of layoffs, and they have now hit that threshold.
President and CEO Debbie Hampton joined me for a KOCO Facebook Live earlier tonight. She says United Way works with 73 nonprofits across our state, and they're seeing large numbers of Oklahomans who now need help with paying things like rent, utilities, childcare. And you got to remember, many of these charities had to cancel fundraisers because of COVID-19. So now they need more money to help out Oklahomans who are struggling. Again, if you are able to donate, text KOCO United to 51555, and then you can enter in your donation amount. And guys, United Way challenging everyone right now after they donate to then tell 5 people to do the same, to continue to spread the word about this fundraiser. Back to you.
Those organizations do such important work, and they have been hit so hard, Jess. Thank you. As places start to reopen Friday, you need to know about this one. I-235 will be shut down between 36th and 63rd. The closure expected to start Friday evening at 7 p.m., last until 6 a.m. Monday at the latest. This is for more work there at the I-235 I-44 interchange.
Tonight, a mother is grieving the loss of her daughter, the victim of a violent murder, and she's doing it in the shadow of COVID-19.
And grieving her properly is nearly impossible in this time of social distance, and the killer is still out there.
KOCO's Mecca Rain is in southwest Oklahoma City with where this case stands now and how they managed to say their goodbyes the best they could.
At 18, Madison Farley's life was cut entirely too short.
When she got shot in the back of the head.
Her mom, Bobby Renfro, says Madison and her boyfriend went to a friend's house on Southwest 43rd earlier this month.
Maddie was standing by the back door
when someone broke in and opened fire.
I'm extremely angry. It makes no sense.
Bobby says Maddie died at the hospital, but restrictions there made it difficult for Bobby to get in to see her daughter.
And it took me about a good hour to be even, for them to get me through the door.
It was there she identified her body, and sadly her siblings and child would not be allowed in. Days later, they would only get one final farewell by phone.
I called Miranda on the phone so that she could say goodbye to Madison over the phone.
Tragedy trumped by crisis. The family just hoping the same won't be said for justice.
We need answers.
Mecca Rain, KOCO 5 News.
Oh, we are thinking of them, and yes, they need answers and they need justice, Mecca. COVID-19 attacking the mental health of some frontline workers, the devastating toll it's taking, and how local hospitals are responding.
Here comes the heat. I'll show you where it could feel like 100 degrees this weekend.
She was like the fireman who runs into the burning building to save another life.
You're hearing from a father talking about his daughter, an ER doctor in New York City. She contracted COVID-19 on the front lines. She passed away not from the coronavirus, but from suicide.
Tonight, KOCO's Portia Riley talking with the local hospital about the mental health of frontline workers.
Day in and day out, nurses and doctors are risking their health for hours, their physical and mental health.
A lot of frontline caregivers are struggling with issues. A lot of them haven't been home for weeks, maybe even a month or longer to see their family.
The mental health of frontline workers is top of mind after a shocking loss Sunday. New York City ER doctor Lorna Breen took her own life, her family says. The devastation of COVID-19 played a part.
She took her own life because I think she was tired.
A reason Integris wants their staff to know, help is here through their governance council and physician well-being app.
We also have a resource for them where they can go and talk to other caregivers that are struggling.
Adding, if you need help, don't feel ashamed or afraid to ask for it.
Unfortunately, people that don't reach out for help will sometimes go down the path of taking their own lives or falling into taking drugs or using alcohol to cope. You know, it's an incredibly sad situation.
Portia Riley, KOCO 5 News.
Expanding who is eligible for help through the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. 17 U.S. senators from both sides of the aisle, including Oklahoma's U.S. Senator James Lankford, writing a letter to Senate leadership. They want local trade and professional associations to be eligible in any future COVID-19 stimulus bill. This includes groups that are considered 501c6 associations.
All right, check out this video. A virtually empty Will Rogers World Airport. ABC correspondent Clayton Sandell shot this while traveling through Oklahoma City today. He was here to cover some weather yesterday. It basically shows handfuls of people boarding flights, empty concession stands, empty baggage claim, zero TSA lines. The airport says COVID-19 has forced them to cut flights in half.